I doubt that even these wise men realized the rabid interest that would develop in the average person by the 1960s in international automobile competition. The competitions that take place throughout the world draw participants and fans from practically every country, with everyone's eye on the Winners' Cup. Of all the Grand Prix races, probably the most unusual and in many respects the most complex is the great Grand Prix of Europe, the Tour de France. For this is no ordinary race, but one demanding not only speed, but exactness of time and precision not required by most other races. Now, this Ferrari and others like it, automobiles entered by all the leading manufacturers in the Grand Tourism and tourism events, each with their own drivers, gather in Nice for the Tour de France, a race and a rally covering 3 countries for a distance of over 3,625 miles. Every year from Nice, some 140 staunch sportsmen start on the most grueling endurance test ever devised for motor car races. In 9 days, they have to cover 3,500 miles, 16 circuit races, and hill climbs. They meet in Nice the day before the start. There, the cars are given a final check, the engines sealed, and cars and drivers numbered. Cars of all makes compete in different cylinder groups, the largest in Grand Tourism, Ferraris, Porsches, and other similar makes, and the smaller in tourism, Jaguars, Alfas, Fiats. As this map shows, the whole of France is covered by the contest. In addition, there's a brief trip through Belgium and a sea trip to Corsica, the participants returning to Nice within 9 days from starting time. It's time for the first lap of the longest automobile race in the world. Olivier Gendevien, Maurice Trintignant, and the Belgian Willy Mairesse are a few of the well-known names taking part, and all are driving Ferraris. A number of women's teams comprise some of this year's 140 starters. Their destination is the famous race circuit at Clermont, Ferrand. Before reaching Clermont-Ferrand, these cars will cover some 100 miles of mountains on the way to the southern part of France. The city of Clermont-Ferrand will be the starting point for the first of the 5 circuit races. And here's the famous Le Mans running start. Once the flag is down, the contestants rush to their cars to take off for the 1-hour race. The circuit at Clermont-Ferrand is 6 miles long, and the race is divided into 2 heats. Here we're watching the Grand Tourism with 51 cars taking part. The Ferraris are soon in the lead. And here's the French champion, Trintignant, closely followed by Mairesse. Competing in the same heat are the Porsches and the Pau Albs and the Fiat Alfas. This race draws competitors from all over Europe. If we're to judge by precedent, Not more than 1/3 of all the starters will return to Nice 9 days later at the conclusion of the race. A demanding test of endurance and skill. And now, while the race continues, we thought we might talk to world-famous racing driver Olivier Jean Devienne, one of this year's favorites. Devienne was clocking his partner's lap as we asked him a few questions.
Mr. Jean Devienne, as winner of the Mans and of Sebring this year, how do you compare those races to the Tour de France?
I think the very good comparison is that all three of them are very long, and Le Mans, Sebring and the Tour de France are competition that you have to drive the same way.
You have a number of races in the Tour de France. Of these, which do you find the most difficult?
One of the most difficult is probably this circuit of Charade, Clermont in France, because it's very twisty, and the average is not a very high average, but the job of the driver is much more important than the job of the driver in a long straightaway.
I see. Tell me, which driver in this particular race do you find will be your biggest competition, since you won it 3 times, I believe?
I did it 3 times, that's right. 3 times in a row, 57, 58, 59. And I think for this competition, I'm sorry, the best driver for this competition will be the French champion, Maurice Trintignant, well known in the world. He's a very fast driver, very clever, and I think we'll have a lot of trouble to win against him.
Thank you very much. We'll catch up with you later during the week.
This 1-hour competition is well along on its way at this point. The Ferraris are still far in the lead, including Mairesse, who has just completed his fastest lap. Mairesse is closely followed by Bianchi, Jean Devienne's teammate, number 145. We've received the report that the Porsches, led by Robert Bichet of France, number 127, are holding their own in their category. Perhaps the interesting thing about this race is that the moment it's concluded, all the competitors have to get back on the road and reach their next destination within a prescribed time. There is no time for relaxation in the Tour de France. Here comes Mairesse, number 149 of Belgium, the winner of this first grueling race. The cars are back on the road 1 minute apart and on to their next race. This will be their first sleepless night of 7 that lie ahead. Each competitor must keep an average speed throughout the populated areas they pass through. There are many hidden as well as open control spots. Here is an important night checkpoint. Now it's time to register. And time for a quick chat as the drivers come in to register and have their papers checked and stamped. Very quickly, the engines are checked. There's just time for a bite to eat before they start off again. Tonight, they'll have to cover some 300 miles before they can stop for a 3-hour rest period. At early dawn, the competitors return to the guarded car park a few minutes before takeoff on the second lap. This is their only time to check their cars and any necessary details. As always, road maps must be checked and last-minute instructions followed. Soon the cars will be off again, but the start is delayed until the ceremony of the yellow ribbon takes place. The cherished yellow ribbon marks the winner of the previous day's competition. At this moment, Mairesse assumes his lead in the 10th Tour de France, and along with the others, he's off toward their next race. Some of the most rugged features of this competition are long hill climbing races where each driver competes against the clock on closed mountain roads between a number of given points. Jean de Vienne is close behind the French champion Trentagnan. The pressure increases as the mountain roads become steeper. Gears have to be shifted more rapidly and the brakes used more frequently. Here a near miss by the French Ferrari driven by Henri Arrière. This is a 9-mile race which has to be covered in the best possible speed. Here our cameras and helicopters follow some of the competitors, the same helicopters we've been using to photograph other parts of the race. Speed, braking, turning. Speed, braking, turning as the cars twist through the mountain roads. This is the town of Rouen, which boasts one of the fastest racing circuits in all of Europe. Our competitors will soon reach the circuit on the outskirts of the town. In the first heat, the tourist category competes. Here are the various Jaguar entries. Peter Jopp of Britain, number 86. Dermot Constant of France, number 85. They have to compete against BMWs, Alphas, and many other European sport cars. It's during this race the Grand Tourism competitors have a moment for some relaxation. Hot meals are served in the tour restaurants, large tents transported to each track. In tents adjacent to the track, there's an opportunity for some quick shut-eye. Perhaps the noise is not too conducive to sleep, but then, after a few sleepless nights and almost 1,000 miles of driving, any opportunity for rest is welcome. The tourism race is now over, and the English team of Jopp and Bailey are the winners. We located them right after their impressive victory.
Mr. Bailey, this is the first race you've won in this Tour de France. How many times have you done the Tour de France?
This is my fourth time.
What chance do you think you now have of catching up with the leader?
Well, I think that depends a great deal on how he goes. He's a good lead now. If something happens, we're there.
Well, I hope you can still keep your place. In any event, you're the only English team left, aren't you?
Yes, that's correct.
Good. I hope you continue to do as well as you have done up to now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The racers are at the start for the second circuit race in the Tour de France in as many days. The city of Rouen is the scene of the French Grand Prix. The Formula One cars and many of the racers you've been watching will certainly compete in that important event. Among them, Mairesse, the leader at this point, with the yellow ribbon attached to his car. Mairesse will be driving for the famous Ferrari stables. Trentaillon, France's Popper, will also be in at the start, as will Olivier Gendavien. The circuit covers 5.5 miles and has many difficult and very dangerous turns. The straightaway itself is 1 mile long. It's at this point that the teammates of the racers time the performances. There's considerable prestige attached to this race, and every manufacturer tries to obtain an entry. There's no time for pit stops for refueling. Included in the many cars in the race are the French Viselia, driven by a woman team headed by Mademoiselle Soisbeau. There's an Italian Alfa Giulietta driven by the Frenchman Max Cross. Also a Porsche team headed by Bichet of France, and of course, the privately owned entries, the Ferraris. Mairesse, intent on winning, has just completed the fastest lap. His teammate is anxiously signaling him to slow down, as victory is certain. Mairesse is well ahead of his compatriot and strongest competitor, Gendavien. Once again, he'll hold on to the coveted yellow ribbon, sign of the leader. He's flagged down as the winner of this race. No sooner is the race over and the competition completed than the racers rush toward their next checking point, Le Mans. It's going to be a long and hard drive through many towns and villages and small country roads until they reach the open highway. Here is Mairesse, the winner, coming into the finish and the checkered flag. The third circuit race at Le Mans will take competitors on another 200-mile trip through the open countryside and the villages and the towns of central France. Note the constantly changing road conditions. During this difficult circuit race, many accidents and other incidents take place. Here, Gerard Senaby, a Swiss entry, is having difficulties with his privately entered Ferrari. The front wheels appear to be locked. Repairs begin as quickly as possible. They can't waste any time, because if they don't arrive at their next checkpoint at the precisely prescribed time, they'll be heavily penalized. Everyone takes a keen interest. Fans following the tour have stopped to offer help. Senaby tries everything he knows, while his wife watches anxiously until finally his car is in working order. Now they're up to the checkpoint, and they will make it just in time. Here's the road to Le Mans, where the tourism category races are headed. Their race precedes the Grand Tourism heat, which takes place later at night. Here the Jaguars take the lead, which they retain until the end. Rounding one of the turns. Very closely bunched. A burst of speed, passing 2 or 3. The Le Mans sign proclaims the winner. The night race starts in the well-known Le Mans formula of the racers running to their cars. Here, Trintignant, Mairesse, and Lucien Bianchi prepare for the start. Last-minute instructions. It's now 9 o'clock, and they're off. In the announcer's booth, the difficult job of recognizing and identifying the speeding cars at night is doubly difficult. No bright lights are allowed on the track to protect the vision of the racers. Le Mans, scene of a tragic accident a few years ago, takes every possible safety precaution. Even the timekeeper works in the dark. As the cars race through the night, there is another Ferrari victory as Willy Mairesse wins his third race in as many days. The grueling pace of the competition is beginning to tell on cars and drivers alike. Here are the signs proclaiming Mairesse's victory. And now they're off again. Nights like days are for driving. And on they speed through the night. Early morning finds the competitors going through another checkpoint at the guarded car park as they get a few minutes rest prior to the usual signing of papers. Next, another hill climbing race. Here the Jaguars, 30 seconds apart from each other, are competing in the 7-mile race against the clock. They're in the same heat with Ferraris and other big-cylinder cars. Our helicopter follows some of the drivers on their relentless journey. Upon reaching the bottom, the speeds increase and the competition stiffens. These mountain roads are treacherous, demanding great driving skill under constant pressure of the clock. Average speeds must be kept according to prescribed regulations. Under these conditions, powerful cars like Ferraris are more handicapped than her smaller cylinder models. Constant gear shifting heats the engine, and Ferraris, though fast on the track, have to slow down on winding mountain roads. And those who can do a quick repair job carry on now and hope that they'll make up for lost time. The next destination is Pau. Through mountains and valleys, they reach this well-known Grand Prix track, which is different from most of the others since the track is actually set in the town. Some of the corners on the Pau circuit are sharp and treacherous. And as you can see, it's easy to lose your way. Or even easier to hit the hay barriers. This could have been a very bad accident, but for the Belgian driver's quick reflexes, avoiding the damaged BMW. The track covers 2 miles around the railway station, past the old capital of Pau, and through the main streets, which, fortunately, are closed for the occasion. Now the crowds in the grandstand are anxiously awaiting the start of the Grand Tourist category race. After a classic racing start, Mairesse and his Ferrari are soon in the lead. The French champion, Trintignant, is on his home ground at Pau, for this is where he won most of his honors. Question now is whether he'll be able to stop Mairesse's winning streak. The Ferraris, and 4 of them are left in the Tour de France, have all achieved excellent results. The score shows 3 of them in the lead, following each other closely in points. Mairesse has a comfortable lead, followed by Jean de Vienne, then Trintignant. Then come the Porsches, but behind by a considerable margin. And here you can see how the less colorful cars, like the Fiat, the Arbit 101, give the big Ferraris a run for their money on a circuit like Pau. A Facelia driven by 2 women competitors is in the 5th position in the general classification. Well, a run for their money as long as they can move in the right direction. While her co-driver is racing with the men at Pau, Madame Nadel-Janviers keeps an accurate record of her partner's track time.
Madame Janviers, it's most unusual to find women drivers in this kind of a race. How many times have you made the Tour de France?
4 times here.
The 4th time?
Yes.
Don't you find it a little difficult to keep up with the men?
No, I think it's very amusing.
Which one of the races in the Tour de France do you find the most difficult?
Probably the course in Corsica, if I arrive there. I hope.
And the one here at Pau, how do you find this one?
It's very difficult, but I know it.
You know it. And what is your formula for keeping in the competition?
Oh, rather slowly, I think it will go right.
Drive slowly. Well, thanks very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Trintignant is making a valiant effort to win this race and recapture points that will put him into second position in the general classification in the Tour. He has a hard time catching Mairesse, but he was finally able to get past John de Viens. This unique racing circuit through the magnificent town of Pau is equaled by only one other, the circuit at Monte Carlo, also located in the middle of the town. The drivers say that Pau is a more difficult track and that the curves are faster and the corners sharper. Upon completion of their specified number of laps, the drivers must once again take to the road for their next appointment in Brussels. The itinerary from Pau takes them through the picturesque villages and towns of central France. Trintignant managed to come in second here at Pau, as Mairesse again took first place, increasing his lead in the general classification. And here are some of the drivers, tired but still in good humor, checking through the control point. This is Willy Mairesse, leader of the Tour de France so far. All the drivers check through their papers, sign the register, and have a brief moment for some refreshments. And then they're off again. And at this particular control point, the competitors have their times rechecked, and one by one, and only 30 seconds apart, they leave for their next destination, Brussels, Belgium. The trip to Belgium, like everything else in the Tour de France, is a speed run. Within 12 hours, the contestants have to drive to Brussels, compete in 2 major races, and then return to France before nightfall. The border with very perfunctory customs inspections will have to be crossed twice. Here Mairesse, a Belgian himself, is passed through by the border officials. Soon the entire caravan will have gone through. Early on Sunday morning, villagers and townspeople will appear to greet the speeding visitors from France. At the track in Brussels, the excitement is growing. Here the public will have an opportunity to see many of their own compatriots competing with the best drivers in all of Europe. Here is Maurice Trintignant changing his trademark, the Sherlock Holmes cap, for the prescribed crash helmet. The Princess is one of the large crowd, which includes many leading Belgian dignitaries. Now the time for the next race is drawing near. The start is in the Le Mans style. This circuit, built near the exhibition stands of the famous Brussels World's Fair, covers 4 miles. It's a fast track with 2 long straightaways on either side. This is the last of the circuit races in the Tour de France. Olivier Gendevien, many times Belgian champion, will not compete in this race. Instead, he wanted his co-driver, up-and-coming Lucien Bianchi, to have an opportunity to prove his driving ability here on their home ground. There are now only 18 entries left in the Grand Tourism category. The Ferraris, of course, once again have the advantage, and in a very short time they resume leadership, lapping the slower and smaller cars. Before long, the race develops into a contest between Mairesse and Bianchi. Much to everyone's surprise, the younger, more inexperienced Bianchi takes the lead. He's obviously determined to push his Ferrari to the limit in order to achieve the victory he and his teammate so badly need. The Brussels race turns into a two-way duel. Other cars in the race don't count as Bianchi goes all out for victory. Mairesse desperately tries to catch up. Time after time, they've lapped the other competitors. Here's Gendevien trying to caution his teammate, and there he goes. Again and again, they lap the other competitors who, realizing what's happening, are determined not to make the 2 main contestants' passage any easier. And here again, Mairesse tries to pass Bianchi, who's driving in top form. According to the experts, Bianchi should develop into one of the great racing champions. He's obviously fearless and has the mechanical abilities and instinct of timing that are essential to a racing champion. Mairesse is making one final effort to catch up with Bianchi, but the end is near, and this time victory will not be within his grasp. Bianchi, whose victory has once again put the general classification into contention, is congratulated by local officials. And here he collects a token trophy offered by the Belgian Automobile Club. It's a moment's relaxation before the last race. And now the Tour de France is drawing to a close. One more effort remains, the narrow, treacherous road to Corsica. Cars are racing toward Marseille through the busy traffic of populated French highways. At the port, the cars are loaded onto a boat, and the drivers will have an opportunity to rest during the 7-hour crossing to Corsica. The city of Oggesia, capital of the island of Corsica, awaits the visiting drivers from the mainland. And soon the final contest, a race against the clock, is on. The fast cars start first and are pursued by the slower ones. As you can see, Corsican roads don't make allowances for passing. This contest covers 170 miles. The traffic on the entire island has been stopped for the duration of the test. Temperature today is in the high 90s, and it makes the performance more difficult. There are now only 40 cars left in the competition, among them 2 women teams who have managed to retain their places. One of these teams includes Nadège Javiers, whom we interviewed earlier in the tour. Here, knowledge of the terrain is of great help to the competitors. Once again, the foreign entries are somewhat handicapped. And Mairesse, determined to retain the slim margin he needs for victory, makes one major final effort. And Mairesse wins the Corsican race, clinching his victory in the 10th Tour de France. That night on the boat, carrying the contestants back to Nice, we had time to ask Willy Mairesse one quick question. When did you consider that the victory was yours? His answer, the answer of all wise racing men: I never considered that I was the winner, for until you cross the finish line, you are not. In the exhausted group, we find the marshal of the Tour de France tired, but satisfied it's finally over. Jean de Vienne took second in the general classification. In the lounge, general pandemonium. After 9 days of concentrated effort, rivalries are forgotten as the celebration continues. And so ends the Tour de France, with one last sleepless night for those who managed to finish the exhausting but exciting Grand Prix of Europe. Perhaps one of the most impressive facts pertaining to this Grand Prix of Europe is that as the race finishes, the drivers, manufacturers, and mechanics have one primary thought in mind: to prepare for the next race. And so, as one Grand Prix of Europe concludes, the work begins for the next year. Another exciting event in your sports cavalcade.